This week in the Italian campaign, brought to you by the Freedom for Italy Network. Episode 57, The Advance Towards Bologna. At the start of October 1944, the Allied Fifth and Eighth Armies were poised to reach the Po River Valley in northern Italy. The German Supreme Commander in Italy, Field Marshal Kesselring, had recommended twice that his forces should withdraw behind the Po to regroup, while carrying out delaying actions south of the river. Hitler said no and ordered the Apennines and the Western Alps to be defended. He was reported as saying, "A withdrawal of the front behind the Po might be too much of a shock for the German people. The loss of the Po plains would have a most deleterious effect on the food situation, as it would mean that the food supplies for the forces committed in Italy would have to come from Germany." Fifth Army Commander Mark Clark, meanwhile, had prepared a plan for an attack by two corps along a 16-mile front involving a total of 4 divisions, the 34th, the 91st, the 85th, and the 88th. At 6 o'clock in the morning of the 1st of October 1944, following a coordinated program of shelling, all 4 jumped off on a 16-mile front with a total of 7 regiments and a portion of an 8th. The 91st Division started from south of Mongodoro and sent 2 battalions of 3-6 Infantry Regiment on the left of Highway 65, while 2 battalions of 362 Infantry attacked to the right and 1 battalion advanced up the highway. Their objective was the Loeno line. Slight gains were made during the first day. Next morning, the 3rd Battalion of 363 Infantry cut Highway 65 north of Mongodoro, while the 2nd Battalion captured heights overlooking the Idice Valley to the east and fought into Mongodoro, which was held by paratroopers and the 3rd GAF Penal Regiment. The village was taken by late afternoon on the 2nd of October. To the left of the highway, 363 Infantry cut the road leading west from Mongodoro. Resistance was light on the 3rd of October as the Germans withdrew to their next line of defense. 362 and 363 Infantry pushed forward to within 1 mile of Loeno before dark and attacked at 6 o'clock in the morning on the 4th of October. Paratroopers on the west of the highway and 1060 Grenadier Regiment on the east side blocked approaches to Monte Bastia, the key height in the Loeno area. The first 2 American tanks to reach the village were knocked out and the attack was halted. 85th Division advanced north of Highway 6529, which links the Radicosa Pass to Castel del Rio. On the morning of the 1st of October, the 2nd Battalion of 339 Infantry captured La Martina and attacked fortified hamlets blocking its advance to the Idice River. The 3rd Battalion of 339 Infantry, supported by tanks and tank destroyers, attacked along the ridge from Monte Canda. It swung northwest on the 2nd of October towards the Idice Valley and advanced 2 miles to the northeast of the 2nd Battalion. The 1st Battalion passed through the 3rd Battalion and by dark it had crossed the Idice and was near Quinzano. The village was taken on the 3rd of October. During the night of the 4th of October, 338 Infantry relieved the 1st and 3rd Battalions, while the 2nd Battalion continued its attack towards a high point beyond the village. 337 Infantry attacked along the ridge between the Idice and Silaro rivers. By late afternoon on the 1st of October, it held over 1 mile of the ridge and advanced further the next morning. On the morning of the 3rd of October, the 2nd Battalion with armoured support attacked along the main ridge, while the 3rd Battalion advanced to the northeast to secure the division's right flank. By 4 o'clock, 337 had advanced nearly 3 miles, placing it ahead of 339 Infantry on its left and the 88th Division on its right. 349 Infantry in the 88th Division struggled to take Sesso Leone, but captured the village of Belvedere and high ground to the north in the first 2 days of 2 corps' attack. In the afternoon of the 3rd of October, the 2nd Battalion of 337 Infantry advanced along Highway 937 and captured Sassoleone after dark. On the 4th of October, the 1st Battalion passed through Sassoleone and turned northwest along the east side of the Salaro River, while the 2nd Battalion continued forward. The 3rd Battalion of 351 Infantry advanced through hills east of Highway 937 to 1 mile northeast of Sassoleone. The 34th Division advanced on a 4-mile front between Savannah Creek and Sutter Creek. 133 Infantry attacked initially with its 2nd Battalion from near Fornelli and reached within 1,000 yards of the crest of Monte del Galetto by the afternoon. Its attack on the German line near Cervecchia was repulsed. The village was cleared on the afternoon of the 2nd of October. The remainder of the 2nd Battalion, reinforced by the 3rd Battalion, attacked Monte del Galetto, which was taken in the early hours of the 3rd of October. The 1st Battalion and tanks of 757 Tank Battalion captured Monte Venere that afternoon. The 3rd Battalion reached parallel positions along the division's right flank. An attack to capture Monzuno was held up. The 1st and 3rd Battalions of 168 Infantry attacked from near Montefredente on the left side of the valley. The 2nd Battalion reached the village of Campiano on the 3rd of October, while the 3rd Battalion reached positions to the north of San Benedetto. There was now a pause across the 2nd Corps' front. The initial phase of its attack had cost a total of more than 1,700 casualties. Orders for the next phase of the drive towards Bologna were issued on the 3rd of October. The main emphasis would continue to be east of Highway 65 in the 85th Division zone, and in particular between the Idice and Silaro rivers. But all 4 attacking divisions were to press forward as rapidly as possible. On the 5th of October, the 2nd Battalion of 339 Infantry attacked Monte Bibele. The battalion joined the rest of 339 Infantry in reserve the next day. The 2nd Battalion of 338 Infantry continued to attack high ground on the west of the Idice Valley and captured Castelnuovo di Bassano on the 7th of October. The 1st Battalion of 338 Infantry relieved the 1st Battalion of 339 Infantry on the 5th of October. After 2 days working forward from ridge to ridge, the battalion was within 1,000 yards of La Villa. A 3-battalion attack by both 337 and 338 Infantry on the 9th of October was partly successful, and the Germans fell back to Monte della Formiche, a key bastion in their next line of defence. On the morning of the 5th of October, 361, 362 and 363 infantry regiments in the 91st Division resumed their advance astride Highway 65. The Lueno line was broken within 24 hours, and the division advanced to a delaying line based on Monte Castellare. 363 Infantry Regiment took the mountain using rope ladders in the early hours of the 9th of October. To the east of the highway, 361 Infantry Regiment captured Barbarolo on the 8th of October and advanced to cut the highway. The 91st Division's next obstacle was Livignano, which had the most formidable natural line of defence north of the Gothic line. It presented to the attacking troops a sheer rock wall 3 miles long and in places nearly 1,500 feet high. To the east, across a narrow gorge, lay Monte della Formiche in the 85th Division zone. To the west, the German line ran to a Monte Rumici hill mass in the 34th Division zone. On the 10th of October, 363 Infantry Regiment was within 1,000 yards of its objective and prepared to enter the line on the division right flank to assist 85th Division's attack on Monte della Formiche. The cliff was climbed to within a few hundred yards of the top on the night of the 9th of October. A platoon reached Livignano, but was heavily attacked. A fresh attempt would eventually have to be made to break the line at Livignano. In the 34th Division to the left, 168 Infantry Regiment attacked on the 5th of October to occupy the area between Montevenere and the Seta Valley. By midnight, it advanced to Hill 661. The next day, the 1st and 3rd Battalions took up defensive positions overlooking Highway 6620. North of Montevenere, the 2nd Battalion of 133 Infantry seized Monzuno before dawn on the 5th of October and advanced towards the Monte Romici Hill Mass. On the 7th of October, the 1st Battalion of 133 Infantry shifted northwest to the Seta Valley and established a roadblock on Highway 620 and the village of Gardaletta and took Hill 520 to the east. In the centre, the 3rd Battalion was engaged in a slow struggle to cross the series of ridges and gullies that led west to Seta Creek. During the night of the 7th of October, the 2nd Battalion of 135 Infantry relieved 133 Infantry of responsibility for the ridge line. For the next 2 days, the two regiments inched forward, 133 Infantry attempting to outflank the Monte Romici Hill Mass from the west, while 135 Infantry attacked from the south. By the end of the 9th of October, the Germans had been forced back to a strong outpost line of defence between the Savena and Seta Valleys, 1,000 yards south of the 34th Division's ultimate objective. Elements of the 10th Parachute Regiment and the 35th SS Panzer Grenadier Regiment holding this line fought off every attempt to outflank or break through their positions. On the 88th Division front, 350 Infantry on Monte Battaglia was relieved on the 5th of October, and Britain's 13 Corps took over the Santerno Valley on the 9th. The 88th advanced slowly on the west and reached the ridge leading to Monte delle Tombe. Machine gun fire stopped the advance short of the objective. To the southeast of Saseglione, the 3rd Battalion of 351 Infantry Regiment made virtually no progress during the first 2 days of the Corps' offensive. On the 7th of October, both the 1st and 3rd Battalions became available, and within 24 hours all the regiment's 3 battalions broke through the German lines and moved north towards the next line of defence on a lateral ridge extending east and west through Gesso. An attack on the village on the afternoon of the 9th of October was repulsed by defenders using flamethrowers. By this point, it was clear that 2 corps had again failed to break out of the mountains into the plain. Its 4 infantry divisions suffered a total of 1,474 casualties in the fighting between the 4th and the 9th of October 1944. The change in direction of the Fifth Army offensive from the 1st of October from northeastward down the Santerno Valley to northward along the Florence-Bologna axis reduced the importance of 13 Corps' drive to Faenza. But 13 Corps took over as much as possible of the 88th Division zone. 350 Infantry on Monte Battaglia was relieved by the 1st Guards Brigade from the 6th Armoured Division starting on the night of the 2nd of October, but German assaults continued against the high point. On the 12th of October, the Germans launched 4 attacks against Monte Battaglia in a final attempt to retake the mountain. Britain's 78th Division, which had left Italy in July, returned in September and was sent to bolster 13 Corps' strength. On the 5th of October, 38 Irish Brigade arrived in Firenzuola and took over Monte Capello from 351 Infantry Regiment. 11 Brigade reached the town on the 6th. On the 5th of October, the 5th Battalion of the Northamptonshire Regiment relieved the 1st Battalion of 351 Infantry Regiment west of Gesso, and the 8th Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders replaced its 3rd Battalion. The 1st Battalion of the Surreys established an outpost line below Monte la Pieve. and the 2nd Lancashire Fusiliers attached to the Irish Brigade reached Monte Capello on the 8th. With the completion of the relief of the 88th Division on Capello and Battaglia, 13 Corps' boundary was shifted to the north side of the Santerno Valley to reduce 88th Division's front by 6 miles. Further to the east of 13 Corps' front, Britain's 1st Division had advanced down the Senio Valley to below Monte Pianacino, guarding the Senio Valley below Palazzuolo. On the 3rd of October, the 2nd Battalion of the Sherwood Foresters reached the lower slopes of Pianacino. They captured Monte Cecce on the 3rd of October, but were forced off. The 1st Battalion of the King's Shropshire Light Infantry took Monte del Puntale and other heights, and the village of Buffardi. Cecce was finally taken on the night of the 8th of October. The 8th Indian Division concentrated the bulk of its strength along Highway 6521 to Faenza. Monte Cavallera was taken on the morning of the 7th of October. Later that day, the 21st Indian Brigade took over responsibility for the area north of Highway 6521, and on the 14th, it extended its left flank to include all ground south of the Senio Creek. The 6th South African Armoured Division, west of II Corps, was given the mission of attacking down the Seta Valley to keep pace with II Corps and of maintaining contact with IV Corps on its left. Protracted fighting for Monte Stanco prevented it from matching the advances of II Corps. But by the 15th of October, 24 Guards Brigade had linked up with the 1st Armoured Division in II Corps on its right to give the South Africans a 15-mile front from Paretta to the Seta Valley north of Crizzana. On the Fifth Army's extreme left, IV Corps had been reduced to the strength of no more than a reinforced division. The 6th Combat Team of the Brazilian Expeditionary Corps had made steady progress along the high ground on each side of the Serchio River. IV Corps took Cutigliano to their right, but on the 9th of October, the Brazilians were ordered to hold the positions they had reached and limit themselves to local attacks. IV Corps' offensive along the coast was eventually halted on the 23rd of October. On the Adriatic coast, rain and mud brought 8th Army operations almost to a standstill on the 2nd and 3rd of October as fords over the Marechia and Marano rivers became impossible. The 1st Canadian Division maintained pressure along Highway 9, but the rains, which had halted the Canadian Corps at the Fiumicino, continued for the first 10 days of October, and a succession of plans for a major assault across the river were cancelled. 2nd New Zealand Division relieved the 5th Canadian Armoured Division to protect the 1st Canadian Division's right flank. On V Corps' left flank, the 10th Indian Division had relieved the 4th Indian Division. On the 6th and 7th of October, it crossed the Fiumicino in conjunction with the 46th Infantry Division on its right. On the 10th, the 46th Division took Longiano. On the same day, the 56th Infantry Division crossed the Fiumicino at Savignano, and their engineers bridged the swollen stream. The Canadian Corps took over Via Emilia from V Corps on the 8th of October, and the 1st Canadian Division relieved the 56th Division, but General McCreery had by then made up his mind to shift the main weight of the 8th Army to the left.